So I think we will have more people joining us, but we are on the hour. So should we get started? And I think we have old faces, so to say, in terms that you know what the 4D stands for: dreamers, doers, designers, and doubters. So a community that we're looking at the meta crisis. There are so many terms today: meta crisis, polycrisis is the one that is used by the World Economic Forum. Nate Hagens thinks about in terms of human predicament. Um, we have six extinctions, so many names, as we say in Swedish, I think is the expression. Kära barn has many, har många namn.
Right.
In English is something that you are keen of, has many names. But aside from that, I think it's to, by the way, we prefer to use meta-crisis more because we believe things are interconnected, and in some ways a good way to express that. But I think the point here is that we all sense that there is something profoundly going on in our world today, many challenges all at the same time, and that the 4D community, even if we also have those intellectual and more profound discussions on complexity and other issues, we simply love the little bigs, right, Kazi? And the possibility for us sometimes to try to think from a rational, optimist lenses and try through the little bigs and small actions to make a mark. And Rajan Nishani in the 4D community was so generous and to invite you, Vergis, and together with you, so generous to take your time today. And in one little big that I think will resonate with all of us, because one other aspect of this community is learning. One of the things that we early on thought was that maybe, imagine if we have a global schoolhouse for the meta crisis, right? So we all would be able to understand and take action. So, but we're taking that from another perspective, the underprivileged in India, right? So we're looking forward this conversation as usual. A lot of things I hope happening in the chat. We're going to help each other, right, Kazi? And also one thing, Vergis, anything that we can do on our side. We are in Spain, in Sweden, many other places, in Japan, right? So I think this is a very local initiative, but there are things maybe, and many of us, like in this call here, Kazi in the university in Spain, and also Arturo in Japan, are academics and working with learning and day to day, right? So without further ado, did I forget anything, Kazi, from?
Oh, just to remember, keep your microphones closed during the first part, but later on we will open while we go for the questions. But if you have ideas, questions, or comments, use the chat so we can keep track of that. Thank you very much.
On to me?
I think yes, it's on to you. Thank you so much for joining and sharing.
Well, good day. I mean, good day, good evening, or whichever part of the world you're in. Let me introduce myself. My name is Vergis. I'm an engineer. I've been running an IT hardware. We set up data centers company for the last 35 years in my hometown here in Chennai, in India, South India. It's really a pleasure to see such senior people. Rajan was telling me many of you all are ex-Ericsson, if I'm not mistaken, and that's where it built up from. And good to see. And there's a lot of interest I can see in what's going on in the world. I understand many of you are very well educated in IT and probably what's happening in the world. Today's presentation, I'm not too sure how much, like you said, everybody can contribute to what we are doing, but probably I just hope that it inspires everybody and gives them some hope in a world which might look not as good as it used to be. But although I disagree with it, I really see the bright side of the world always, and I really think we are in a great spot. I mean, we look at us 150 years back to where we are today, we're in a fantastic place. Uh, Let me just start with this story. Indian culture is very different in the sense that when I've interacted with others, that we form very close families. If you would come for an Indian wedding, it would be probably 10 times the size of a typical Western wedding. So, just our friends circle would be something like 100, 200. But something different happened to us when we all started to settle down to our jobs. We were about six families which used to meet up every Saturday. We became like a family. And when we were around the age 40, this friend of ours, one of the six was this friend of ours called Sugun Thomas. He had an accident. We had rains in Chennai, and he had an accident, and he got electrocuted while trying to power off the electricity in his house. And because of that, he passed away, and it was a big shock to all of us. Uh, Personally, let me just say that till around that age of 40, I was not a very charitable guy. I was not very much into giving. Uh, and just probably like anybody else, we give for the odd thing here or there. So we wanted to do something in his name and something to keep his memory alive. It was because he was such a close friend to a few of us. And it was such a shocker because we are still young in life that when we went through his things to write something about him for his obituary, we realized he was supporting two children abroad in Africa, not in India. To that, there's an organization called CRY, CRY. He was part of that. So we thought that, okay, why not we do one thing? Why don't we start a charitable organization in his name? And it was a very small start. The first year we had we were learning the whole process, and all of us personally contributed money, and we took in two students, basically to emulate what he did, and tried to sponsor them from the late school, or whatever you would call the school, right, preschool, which is right before college. Then went with these kids to college to help them get admission inside and put them through college. Uh, just to give you a little background of the Indian economic environment, at least 50% of the Indian economic environment do not have the higher opportunities that we get typically in the Western world. And but about 50% of them do have, which is like we are all part of that. So what happens is the children that come from the lower 50% economically are also not advised well enough by their parents, because their parents come from very backgrounds which through which they have struggled a lot, and they're not typically educated. So the kind of advice, and so when we started this off, uh, we didn't know really what we were doing, and we did a couple of students, and it was very successful. So in the next 2 to 3 years, we kept it. It was small. We had four more students in the next year, and we started to realize certain things about the whole thing. If you wouldn't mind, I'll put across the presentation a little bit. But what I would like you to do is, while I run you through, it's just more like a journey, a little bit like a journey and where we are. And please interact with me, ask me anything if you feel that you need to. So let me just try to share that. Can you guys see that?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Yeah. So as you can see, we are now in our 21st year. So the incident I talked about, my friend Sugun passing away, was 21 years back. So currently we do three things. I was telling you about the thing we learned was when we enabled the first few students, putting them through college and helping them get jobs, we realized that it was the right way to make somebody who comes from a very challenged background, especially financially challenged background. Uh, it enables them and also people around them uh, to elevate themselves out of into a higher level, both financially, socially, uh, and even awareness and things like that. So uh, basically, if you, I wouldn't want to read out exactly what is there. I could always send this presentation over to you. I just want to make this a little bit more interactive. So if anybody can, so this is like our standard presentation. So this is what is already given to me. I cannot deviate from it too much whenever we discuss the foundation with anybody else. So let me quickly tell you where we are right now. So it's run by a set of every day. So we have a secretary. We originally formed it as what is called a trust in India. So there are we were four of us who formed the organization. I was one of them, and I was the secretary of the organization. The secretary is something here. It's something like the CEO of the organization. I was the first CEO, the secretary for the first 6 years, and now the treasurer is like the CFO, like the finance in charge, and I am the current treasurer. And we have 2 employees. We also have other volunteers who are heads of our communication and social media, donations, which is to receive money, alumni, which is of our old students who have already gone through and got into jobs. Then we have a head who helps in the selection of students. And the mentor part, I will explain a little bit more because that is our USP. And also we help students get jobs, and that's the recruitment head. All the entire group of people who manage this, except for the 2 employees, are all doing it voluntarily with no remuneration in any way. So typically how it goes about is there are 7 trustees now who are officially, as per the government is concerned, in the as far the legal aspects are concerned, these are the 7 trustees who own the organization, and all the 7 vote to provide all policies and processes of the organization, and all these processes are audited, and and they serve as the guidelines for everybody who is managing the organization. So the first and foremost thing is to identify students. So this actually, if you look at our currently we are sponsoring about 190 children live. When I mean live is some have passed out, but when we are today we have them at various stages of their education, about 190 students. So to select the student, to find out if it's a deserving student, is actually a rigorous process because uh, first is, say, over 21 years, the economy of India has changed. So what we call poor or economically challenged 20 years back and what we call it today are 2 different criteria. So the criteria for selecting a student, it's constantly a changing uh, uh, process, and it has to be reevaluated almost every 2 years. So typically what we do is we go through students who cannot afford who cannot afford private education. So in India, typically anybody who can afford puts their children through a private school. And the government schools, which are free of cost, I mean, which are, you don't have to pay any fees, are typically only used by students of the lower category. So we straight away, what we do is we go into these schools to identify eligible students. Then we do multiple evaluations based on how good they are in their academics, their income, their status, etc. And once we have shortlisted a set of students, every student is interviewed either in person or over Zoom or a video call. And if that child meets the further criteria, every student is visited to see if all the information that we have received from them in the interview was correct, to make sure that there is a genuine need for the sponsorship. So this identification of students is one of the most difficult and rigorous processes. It's done once a year. and about 250 students are shortlisted every year by our organization, by our team. So this I would say this is the most different aspect of our organization. So the one thing we realized is many of these students, because they come from a challenged background, the challenge is not just economic. The challenge is also the parents are uneducated and therefore unable to advise their children the way forward and to make choices which are better for them. So they kind of just go to people for advice and things like that. So what we do is we realize that every child needs to be mentored. So the first thing we did was for every student that gets inducted into our organization, we assign a mentor to them. Uh, there can be a typical mentor can have a maximum of 3 students under them, but most of them are one-on-one. And the mentor is the person who basically the student interacts with for the period of their tenure with our organization through which we are funding them for their education and till they get a job. Uh, Also, that mentor role is not just it's about understanding the kids' social requirements, even to the extent of how they eat, do they know how to use a spoon and a fork, how they dress, what kind of books they read, just like how you would treat your own children. So, the way you would bring that, we try to provide as much, and also we try to identify mentors who are from the same vertical in the company type. For example, if a student is doing a mechanical engineering, we would typically try to put a mentor who's in the manufacturing field, or a student is in IT, is in doing computer science. We will put somebody in the IT field, etc. Or student is doing medicine, we will put a doctor as a mentor. So these kind of things have been done, and uh, that we realize has been one of the biggest differences why the children that we have had such a huge success from our children are going through our organization. So it's not just a funding that we do of academics. We actually, because we mentor them, we actually provide a lot more than just funds to the children. So it's not just an organization which just provides money like a scholarship. Is there anybody wants to ask anything? Please feel free.
There's already been a couple of questions we've had
Sure.
to do with the model, and no, don't worry about the chats. But perhaps we can continue if you prefer, and then we go through all of them because some of them might be answered when you talk.
Okay, sure.
Thank you.
So these are some of the highlights that we have been operational for 21 years without a break. We had student intakes every student. So we have been in touch with 271 schools from which we select our students. And our students have been placed in over 128 different colleges. These are all different colleges. And over 195 companies where our students have been placed. Currently, we have about 284 individual donors and 46 corporate donors. So in India, there is a government regulation where any company which makes more than a certain amount of money has to contribute a small percentage of that to organizations like us. It's called the CSR initiative. So we have a few corporate sponsors who help us sponsor students. And so far, as you can see, we have done 553 students. Now, most of you, I know that in Western countries, college education is expensive. It is equally expensive here. If you compare with our standard of living, if you look at the same thing, so why we got into this is most of the children that we have sponsored cannot afford to go to college. So that's one of the criteria that we had put down. So if we hadn't sponsored them, they would probably just have dropped out after school and got into some kind of a vocational job. So So we have sponsored so far 553 students. And the other, like I said, none of us draw any remuneration. It's all remuneration. It's all pro bono. And we keep an administrative cost because basically we have two employees to manage the day-to-day affair, to manage just the students of 180 plus students. It's a lot of work involved. So we have two employees, but entire administrative costs are borne by the trustees. So we don't put it on any of the donors. So all donors and corporate donors directly sponsor the children. Entire administration cost is borne by us trustees. So that's where we put in our money for. So we don't take any money from any outsider to run the organization. So even though it's showing as 8%, but every donor is provided with a map, a student utilization report, which shows exactly where their money is going. And 100% of the money is utilized for the student directly, for all donors, outside of the trustees. All of our alumni, that is all students who have passed so far, are either employed or have opted for higher studies, which means we have 100%, almost 100% success rate so far. So this is approximately, just to give you where our current students are. We have 191 current students. As you can see, 1 is in school. We have 78 in engineering colleges, 57 in arts and science, 21 in paramedical. Paramedical is not exactly becoming a doctor, but like a nurse or a physician assistant, etc. Medical is doctor, dentist, dentistry, etc. We have 3 in lawyers, 5 in diplomas, which are not exactly engineering, but it's based on their academic performance in school. That's how they're selected to go into which college they can get. And second stream is an alternate stream education that is provided. This general distribution has been, in fact, this has been throughout, that we already seem to have a small percentage of girls higher than boys, because for some reason in India, it's probably because of the way the culture is, that the girls have seemed to be fitting a criteria more, basically because of probably how it has been. So this is approximately, but this amount, this is actually the budget we provide per student, but this is in rupees. This is about, if I put it about 1.8 lakhs, that would be about 2,000 euro, I think. So that should be around what it costs per annum per child. So you can just see for the different, say that would be 1,250 euro. You can just put it, just remove a couple of zeros, and that would be in euro for you approximately. That's how much it costs per student for us in each of these different types of disciplines of education. This is more a geographical split. I'm not too sure it's very relevant to you guys, but just to show that we have people all over South India that we sponsor students by, although largely this is where I'm from, Chennai. The last one, Chennai, is where we are from, and the bulk of our students are from there, but we do sponsor some students from other places in India. This is just a pie chart of the educational streams, which we showed you earlier. So you can see the bulk are in engineering. See, engineering seems to be engineering and medicine are the real way forward for really good jobs. So as much as possible, we try to encourage students who are interested to get into engineering, because anyway, we are sponsoring for it. This is approximately how we grew. You can just look at the first graph on the left. You can see that we started really small, still finding our way, and about over the last decade almost, or less than a decade, we really ramped up the entire organization to make it a much bigger organization. It took a lot of effort to do that. And you can also see that the next graph on the right, top right, is the number of students who have passed out. how many are passing out every year. And the bottom left chart is showing now how the funds have started coming in. As they have shown a lot of more profit, more successes, we seem to be getting more people interested in our organization and what we are doing. And as the bottom right is the number of mentors. All mentors are pro bono. They're not employed or anything. They just come voluntary. They typically, there are people from all over the world. So many of our classmates, for example, Rajan, who's part of your group, is also a mentor of, which is why he wanted to. So the mentoring is done online with the child. So as you can see, we have about 80 plus mentors right now in our organization. So to the couple of years back, IIT is one of the top institutes in India. It's like the equivalent of the Harvard, etc. And they did an impact study of our organization on the students. They took a sample of 102 students and some 150, as you can see here. And what they really found, the key findings are that what it is the impact of what our organization had on the student, and also the impact, therefore the impact to society. So it was the study showed that there was a significant improvement in performance among 76% of the students, and 83% of students improved their self-esteem. This is largely due to the mentoring. And more than 80% of the alumni, the ones who have passed out through our organization, have shown significant improvement in their socioeconomic status. So as you can see, it's been observed that in several cases, there's over a 4-time increase in family income to those families we have provided support for. I mean, those children we have provided support for. And mentorship has been such an effective part of our process. More than 90% of our students felt that mentorship helped them in their academic performance and their confidence. So this is some of the, and this is the best part, which is what we always felt. It was not just the student we affected, but it was their immediate neighbors and their relations and family. Those students then inspired their immediate society, and it was during the study they went and interviewed several people who stayed around or are staying with our students, and they found that they had a significant impact on the immediate family. So it was not just sponsoring a student and taking them through and making them successful. It had repercussions like a ripple effect on the students' immediate family and friends and neighbors. And this part about girls, it may be a surprise to you, but India is still, coming out of the gender bias culture that has been there. It's still there, especially with the uneducated. And so it has really helped many of the girl children, what we have done. I can answer more, but this is just some quick thing of where some of our children are studying. Some of these names may be familiar with you, may not be, but they're some of the large enterprise size organizations in where our students are placed now. I'll just run through the search. These are just some typical photographs of some of our students who are working all over the world. So some of our students, we have taken, you can only imagine we have taken them from an extremely challenged background. And look at where they are now around the world. These guys are working outside. They've left our home state and they've moved outside to other parts of India. This is typically how an annual day will look like. We have an annual day every year, and it coincides with Sugun Thomas's death anniversary. So we It's typically how it's a fairly large affair. With just these are just the current live students, so you can see how many students are there right now with us. So we really felt that the organization has done well. We feel that we have matured as an organization over 21 years. We feel we have figured out now how to scale operations. I think the few of us at the top kind of are at a realization that we have really achieved something, and it's gone beyond that original emotional uh, reason for starting the organization. Now, children themselves have become such a meaningful impact for us, those who are running the organization, that we want to do for more children. So we are trying, we have a target that to start sponsoring 1,000 children a year by in another 10 years time. That's and work our way every year by about 100 add-on per year. So now we had a target to move to 200 this year, and we have reached 191. So next year, hope. But obviously, it's related to the amount of funds we can get. Not and just about the funding, I'll discuss with you later. Yes, sure.
Just a very quick one.
Sure.
In terms of the currency here, how much would that be in dollars? Just so to.
That is. That's you'll have to just make that. That's $500,000.
Okay.
5 crore is $500,000, and 10 crore is $1 million. Currently, we are at about $200,000. That's where we are at this point in time. Yeah. So let me just say, this presentation is meant for. It's for a general presentation. It's not been tailored for your organization, but if I had to tailor it, then I had to get approval from, because that's the way we operate. We try to make sure that one person can take decisions and can be joint decisions.
This is wonderful. It's so inspired. It's almost difficult not to get emotional. It's very inspiring.
Yeah, it's this. I think if there's something that you would like to ask, but let me just before we say about when I said about donations, my latest thing, we cannot accept donations from outside India. So the unfortunate part is a lot of organizations in India which are sponsored from abroad are also using it for laundering money. So what has happened? The government has put very stringent norms. So if we had to accept funds from abroad, we'd have to actually add on another employee just to run that through the government and keep them out. You have to give a weekly update to the government, etc. So at this point, because see, most of us are in voluntary capacity, we're not getting paid for this. We thought it easier for us to just stick to what funds are available in India. So even if it has inspired you to say, even if you want to give some money, I'm just putting it across that we cannot really accept foreign donations at this point of time. So if there's something that you would like to ask me, please.
But this was wonderful. Maybe we can take out the slide, and
yeah, sure.
And we have a question, right?
And we already have a hand up.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we cannot hear. It's
yes. Hi. Good evening, and thank you very much for your presentation. I think what you are doing is really inspiring. And what I was thinking when I was listening to you is that you have managed with a minimal amount of cost to have a huge impact and outreach. And I really would like to compliment your organization for this, because it is not really common to hear this kind of outputs and outcome. I work for the Commission, And at a certain point, I was heavily involved in the creation of legal migration pathways. And despite the huge investment put, the opportunities of legal migration remain today still very, very limited. So when you see this from the overall profile, so when one sees that the cost of a creation, I'm sorry if I speak from an economic point of view, but I think it is important to consider things that are so when one sees that using the existing network and the labeling that you have managed to to define, basically, if I understand well, the cost of a creation of an opportunity rests to about not even the equivalent of 1,000 US dollars or 1,100, which is basically something that I have not seen, because in the programs that I had been analyzing, we are speaking about 10 to 20,000 US dollars for the creation of a job. So that is quite impressive from both an economic point of view, but also from the fact that you have managed to create through the networking concrete job opportunities, not only in the Indian context, but also abroad, because I have seen there that, there are a number of people that benefited from your program that have had access either to the UK or to Canada. Right. So I think that it's something very good. I had something coming into my mind, but I'll just throw it to your attention, and then it's I mean, what I can do is that I am working for DG Home, so it's the Home Affair, and I have some colleagues. I am not in charge of India, but I have some colleagues that are in charge of the political dialogue with India and on the interrelations that they have with an Indian authorities that include also labor migration. So if you are interested, I can just pass the message, and once I have the presentation, I could put you in touch with those colleagues. And then, if this is something that would have any kind of appetite, then the thing could go on with its own, let's say, by its own way. The other thing is that I really think that you have established a model that it's really interesting to look at. And I think that can be of inspiration maybe for other contests, you see, because it shows that the state or intergovernmental interventions, they don't necessarily have that kind of output and outreach as a more, how to say, dynamic organization, smaller, based on voluntary work and based on certain outcomes. My dream, when I finished hearing your presentation, was, that could be if these big administrative systems manage to look at the opportunity to say that maybe within 2 years, your organization could be able to benefit of, not your organization, sorry, the people that you are identifying, the young people, would be able to benefit of more opportunities, and then we can really have a model of legal, how to say, of a legal movement in an important country such as India. But those are my personal thoughts. I could just try to act as a facilitator, as a broker, knowing some of the people in the system, and then that could take it from there. Thank you.
Thank you. Much appreciated, Graziella, for your kind words. All kinds of ideas are welcome. Like you said, the cost is essentially low also because of the amount of volunteer work, right? Typically, I would say a government organization or a professional organization doing it requires a lot of people who have to be typically remunerated, salaried. So it costs a lot more. I'm assuming, not too sure. But yes, we have no choice but to keep the cost down. We just try to maximize more children and more volunteer work from our side to make things happen as much as possible. But the other thing is, it would be really nice if there was some way we could get help for and additional opportunities for students passing out of our thing. Because yes, if you ask me, they are more deserving than most other people because of from where they came. They really deserve to do well. It's the impact. The impact is not just that one person. Because of where if an already well-to-do individual from here is going out, the impact is not as heavy on in the immediate society of that person. It's when a person from a very challenged background makes a big success in life, the impact is on at least 100 people in India, in his immediate community. And that's how big the impact can be, the ripple effect. So we'll be, it may, after this meeting, if you could send me some contact details, I'll put it onto, like you saw, if you can see that we have this recruitment head, he helps all the students get jobs and placements with the help from everybody. But there's a head. I can give him your contact to see if there are opportunities for our students.
It would be fantastic. Great to connect, to build connections here as well. Thank you, Graziella. We have a couple of questions more. I have mine, but I'll wait for my turn. Let's start with Harm.
Yeah. Well, first, I'm really impressed with your story, and it shows that it must have been, especially in the beginning, you're not expecting this to be in this size after so many years.
No.
And can you tell a little bit more about what has driven you, especially in the first years where you did not have the results that everybody is acknowledging that, of course, but to get on when in rough weather and when you have to sort it all out and arrange everything and pack it. Can you tell a little bit more
about the early years?
Yeah, about the early years. Yes.
Yeah. So, Harm, were you there when I talked about the initial, the reason we started this organization? We were a close family of 6 families, and Sugun Thomas was one of them, and he passed away. But we were very close as friends.
Yeah. No, I know that.
Yeah, you heard that. Right?
Yeah, I hear that. Yes.
The first few years was completely emotional. It was because we loved him so much. We kept the first few years going for him. And it was not so much of what impact we made on the children, although it was more we were doing it for him. So it was that is why it was small. We were taking in 3 students, 5 students in a year, small amount, and most of the funding was by ourselves. We just friends and family of Sugun Thomas. That was the initial years. It was not about companies and things like that. But in about 10 years' time, it kind of hit us. What have we achieved here? Because by then we had students who have passed out, who have got jobs. It was much easier to manage in those days, I would say. So we didn't have any employees as such. It was completely volunteer, but it was just emotional because of friendship, nothing else. That's what got us through the initial years. And if we didn't have that, it would have, there was a time we actually came to crossroads. Okay, we have done a good job. We did a good thing for our friend. So let's pack it up. And we kind of introspected among a few friends, all of us together. We're just a group of friends. Let me just be clear about it.
Yeah.
So who run this organization. And we said, but look at what we have achieved. And look at those children. And I believe me when I say this, that before I started this, I was not this guy who was regularly giving money to charity, or I was not one of those people, but I became one of them with this experience. Mm-hmm. So now it is more about, at that point of the crossroads when we had the discussion, we said, there's an opportunity here. There's an opportunity here which can benefit a whole lot of kids out there. Mm-hmm. So why don't we do it? What's preventing us from doing it?
Yeah, I think what is important now is that we learn from you and get the inspiration of no matter if you have a good idea and you can help somebody and you can put yourself aside for a while, that it does have this impact. I can't get it in. So big, so fantastic. Yeah. Again, congratulations.
Thank you so much, Ham.
Valdo, you're next.
Yeah, it was my question because I joining Ericsson Vergis, so we had this large community. It became thousands of people, but engagement there came very much people that really cared about Ericsson in the future. It was in his strategy, right? But all this with engagement in communities when you're working on your spare time and pro bono is always intrigued me, right? And in many, even at Ericsson, it could be like, fluctuate a lot. So you answered the question about this really a cause and even emotional, visceral, basically, right? But then the next question I had is what could be the challenge today, is if there is any, is that you would like to bring? Anything that you need more help, or do you have all the mentors you have today, 44? What are the challenges today when you...
Actually, you're right on that. So if there's one thing we would always love is high quality mentors. The mentorship, as you can see, even through that impact study done by this IIT, which is, like I said, is the equivalent of Harvard in India. The impact study showed that the mentorship was the difference. So what is important is to have high quality mentors, and that could be from anywhere in the world, it doesn't matter in terms of what background, as long as we know that that person can be an inspiration to just one child. We're not asking him to be an inspiration to multiple, just to think of that child like their own children. How would they have advised their own child through that formative years? Because those are extremely formative years. What you do from school to college to job kind of defines you for the rest of your life. So that, if any of you all feel that even just being a mentor, can be a contribution from any of you all. And anybody from your organization, if you're interested, please let us know. Especially because I know most of you are accomplished people from the industry and in various fields. So that was something so like I said, as far as what constrains us from growing is also money. But unfortunately for us right now, we'll have to look at that internally inside India. But even at this size where we are right now with 200 concurrent students, it is a big job to manage at this point itself. We have hit probably with the 2 employees, we're at the seams. right? So but what we did, Gerardo, you were asking the other thing was, yes, how did we find, there was a method we created to make sure that we spent as little time as possible, because like you said, all of us are working. I mean, I run a company, I'm a CEO of a company, and many of us are at various high level positions in our company. So we used all our professional experience to come up with processes in the system to make sure that it runs with minimal interference from management. And only like you would do with any large organization, that you would try to create a lot of processes to run the organization. We did that. We kind of and made sure that only if you had to do something outside of these guidelines and the processes they would have to get back to us. And then we have a weekly review meeting where we had reports. We know exactly what the employees and what status the organization is. And when you do these reviews weekly, it would just take us 10 to 15 minutes to know what state the organization is and have we done all that we were supposed to do over there. So it's kind of, we brought in a lot of our professional experience. We brought it into this organization and redid it so that we don't actually spend as much time. So we probably maybe an hour or two a week. That's about it. That's what we spend. Any of us directly. But as a mentor, like I personally have mentored over 15 children over the last 21 years. That is different. That's a different thing by itself. That takes time. But we typically spend time with the children on weekends, on Sundays when we're a little free. I normally use Sunday morning to spend some time. Sometimes I take these kids out for a cycle ride. I take them for a hike, bring them home, show them technology, things like that. But that's a different game by itself. So that takes time by itself.
Sorry, Kasi, that I'm jumping in here,
Sure, please.
violating the queue, but it's a consecutive question to what Geraldo said. Vergis, you spoke about high quality mentors. How do you define high quality? What makes a high quality mentor?
Yeah. So the typical situation of what we look at role models, right? So yes, we do have criteria, but it's not just criteria. Basically, what we're looking at is we're looking at somebody who has been fairly successful in life in a particular field. So like you see that we have a variety of fields that the children are studying in. So if we just say that 40% of students are in engineering, but engineering itself has 10 disciplines, right? You have electronics, you have communication, you have computer science, you have mechanical, you have, that kind of civil. So typically we try to align first a mentor, which is aligned with that student's academic alignment. So job, that is the first part, because the most important part ultimately is the student should get placed in a good job, and that's where it all happens. So ideally, when you look at the most important criteria for the mentor is to be in the same profession as where the student is aspiring to. That's the first criteria. The other is, ideally helps if you have been a parent. So and if you're kind of our age, you would have gone through those years with your own child and kind of do to that child what you would do to your own children. That's typically, although I wouldn't say these are definitive criteria, there's no real definitive criteria. These are the broad criteria, and then we take what we get. If we find a nice, good professional person, and and there is an interview process. That we have a process for that. There is a set criteria, and there is also people who are not used to it. We have an induction process for mentors, and we also teach them what to expect, because some of these kids can be a challenge. Some of them can, because coming from challenging backgrounds also affects the psychological nature of the child. So some of them come from very disturbed homes. Parents, father has left the family, and so the mother is alone, working as a maid servant, struggling. They don't have enough money to pay rent, so they live with a relation or a brother or a sister of one of the parents. That affects some of the quality of the child's. So yeah, mentoring also gives them exposure which their parents cannot give, because coming from smaller, so that kind of a person interested in giving maybe a second chance. If you haven't been able to do it with your children, maybe you get one more try now. just joking. Yeah, but that kind of is
very interesting what you just said at the very end, because I am working, I'm building now a startup to help young people to better use technology, and perhaps we can see how it can help you as well and me as well.
sure.
But it's very interesting, because when we are talking to the mentors, what we have in the model is that the mentors are very young people, because they can create an emotional connection better than me for that particular topic. Not for, in your case, you prefer to have a mentor that can help understanding an environment in which their parents cannot, and perhaps helping them with work and all of that. But it's very interesting, because in any of the cases, I think that the mentors learn at least as much as the mentees.
Absolutely.
And they are the connection that you create, not only emotional, but also of future success, of things that you can do. My son likes to say, things that you can do with your hands makes a difference, Daddy. And it's true that you can see that, and you have had that for many years. Now, that was more a reflection. Now, my question to you has to do more with the impact and the ripples. You have said that that's very important. It's true that when you start with a little bit creates a huge impact. When you have a little bit more, it's just a little bit more. But in your case, because you are really checking those kids that have potential but also need, it's very, very impactful at the end. How do they later on help this impact to build again? Do they become mentors? How do you grow the community?
Right. Good point. Did you notice during the presentation I put this alumni? We have a head of alumni. So we are in touch with about 80% of the students who have passed out of our organization. And we have an alumni meet every year. So it's just like the alumni of a college. We have the same program here. At least 20 of our students are now mentors, ex-students. I mean, who have passed out 10 years back. Those kind of, because they are now 21 years. So some of them are professionals now. They've been working for 10 years. They're married, have children, but although not children of that age, but we felt that some of them are very relevant, that they could help certain types of students. We kind of map them. We know the kind of, some of them are not yet ready for it, so we don't invite them, but some of them are. And we have at least 5 students who have started donating back a part of their monthly salary. They started donating back. So yes, there has been a lot of contribution back from them, and we meet with them every year. We have an annual meet. We hold it in a place. We play some games. We have some tea, coffee together. We do them. And this time, so there's a committee. That committee is managed by these students themselves, the alumni committee. So they have a group. They have multiple groups, social groups, where they're all in touch. It's also a place where we put up opportunities. So you're looking for a job, you're looking for education, higher education, and things like which they can afford now because they're working. We kind of provide some additional information to them. So there is, yes, a large part of a lot of effort being taken to students who have already come out of that. But if you are asking about the impact on their own impact on their social, but you were asking, was this what you were asking me about?
I was asking more about this.
Okay.
The other reflection was about the impact and the
Okay.
But it's how you connect the different players in your ecosystem, companies, people that put their time and money, also the students that grow. How do you connect them to continue growing? That was my question. I have another one, but I will wait for Harm. And I have another one related with the slow stone.
Thank you again. Yeah, I would. I wanted to reflect on something. What you told me about how it was, the reason why you went into this whole process was an emotional one. And I hope you understand me right. I have within my family, we have a situation that is completely different, but still, there's a huge comparisons when it comes to the outcome, and that is within the family of my brother. My brother and I, we are both working in the poultry industry. We're born there, and still I'm over the edge, and I'm still working that field. But my brother, he was confronted by a young boy who was 11, who ended up alone at the airport in Amsterdam without his mother and without his parents. And he was 11, and my brother took, he from out of his personal capacity, he took care of that boy. He came from what is it, Congo, and they grew a little bit together. And my brother, he learned a story about this his mother, that was a 12-year-old girl who was raped and who didn't have a father, was expelled from her family, ended up in Kinshasa, and lived in the street. And then there was I think there was a European EU, or I don't know what kind of organization, that helped kids to fly them over to Europe to get a better chance. So long story short, he became one of the kids of my brother, and together when when he was 21, he went back with him to Congo to meet his mother. And by getting to see the life of those, what happened there, that made such an impression on him that he wanted to do something about that. So he set up a kind of organization for young mothers from underage, and to help them and give them training and a profession and stuff like that. And then everything happened, of course, because there was money there, and they got a robbery, and there was somebody seriously, so there was an up and down. But in the end, that boy became, my brother went there, and now after 25 years, he has set up the poultry industry for Congo. So together with also with the European Commission and with other funding, they have set up a hatchery and farm food, so a feed mill, a training center. I think there's something like 600 or 700 farms there have set up. It's thousands of people working there now, and it replaces let's say the eggs layers, as we call them, the laying hens that are not producing eggs anymore. They now are exported to Eastern Europe, and then produced as bad meat for high cost, And so what they're doing is producing eggs and producing meat in locally produced in high quality, and it is in enormous successful now, but after 25 years. And you have to go through all the loops, also not paying the people who want to have bribe money to say yes, and you have to sit it out. But yeah, it's another story, another type of story. But for me, it was like, yeah, I get emotional if I hear you that this happens, and yeah.
Yeah,
Thank
it actually
you.
is very impressive. As you said, it's probably a small step taken by your brother when the child was left at the airport has made such a big impact today. Yeah, it's inspirational too, really. It is.
Thank you, Harm. It's also amazing to see connections and also to see how certain things connect back with history and family, and it has been a beautiful story as well. Geraldo, do you mind if I jump in, because I will have to leave in 5
Yeah.
minutes for my
Yeah.
webinar?
Sure.
Sorry, it was another question, Vergis. We have something called
Sure.
the slow schoolhouse. The slow schoolhouse, it's built upon the hypothesis that we are, because of this connected world, screens everywhere, etc. The hypothesis that is that we are losing collective agency. So in order to recover collective agency and collective capabilities, unions or social gatherings, or even this is collective learning and collective sharing. So we want to make an experiment with the slow schoolhouse, and I was thinking on how, learning from you, how community-based learning has helped you and the community. Do the kids help each other? Do they? Because I've seen one picture, but I have also seen that people are in different locations. So perhaps it's not everything can be done face to face. Or how do you handle these things?
I'm not too sure in terms of community learning as such. The one thing I can tell you is, okay, I can only tell that the problem that we have, one of the issues that we have in our education system, and I would say most of the education systems around the world, is it's obsolete. Because by the time you can write a textbook and create a course material for a subject, it's obsolete. And this is one of the biggest challenges that everybody faces. And so it's easier to learn cutting edge technology in short bursts of, say, a month's course or a 2-week course. It's easier to do that than to go through an entire college career. So if at all there was something that we did was, because even the college is like a collective learning experience. So because it's a physical collective learning experience too. What we actually did as mentors was we gave them additional education, either online or into smaller classrooms, which are teaching very capsuled or condensed versions of vocational. So if like a guy was doing in IT and he wanted to get into computer doing coding, IT development, software development, we would just teach him a particular coding language and a database in a 2-month course while he is in his final year of college. He comes out ready for a job. So although I'm not too sure about how much of real community learning like that has been possible, I think it's more of a very small community learning, like much smaller, because we kind of have broken it up into the individual students with a mentor. So they form, like, if you ask me, I guess, a collective group. And then they are, like, for example, the mentors are part of, there's a mentor group. So the mentors learn from each other and pass it on to the children. So we are all part of multiple groups.
My question.
Yeah, so, yeah, there is there is that kind of learning where we learn that allows us to share each other's experience. So everybody puts up their success stories with or something interesting of their interaction with their student. They put it up on the mentor group, and that can be used for learning for other mentors. Yeah, something like
Thank
that.
you.
So it does help. Yeah,
Thanks a lot.
yeah, sure.
Geraldo, now your turn.
Yeah, and I just want to point out in the chat, Harm is, how to say, volunteering as a mentor if you need one person in, he's the world's expert in the poultry industry. So it's you have a mentor there if you need one in that area. But one
and a motivated one.
Yeah, motivated one. And I have so many. My head is spinning here, but so I'm getting a little bit more into details and thoughts here. So one thing, I worked at 7 years at the University of Stockholm, many times with programs for unemployed and education programs so they could get jobs. We never came even close to your ratings, the success you had that you showed. But one thing that is always good this time is, for instance, practice contact with companies. And when I see this slide with so many companies and so, are you connecting now more and more this part? So this is one question. I'm getting more in the exciting in details. And then the other one, I think the digital part, you mentioned that the mentors are connected, if I understood. But then I'm thinking the alumni meetings happening every year, are they connected digitally somehow or?
Yes,
Yeah, okay.
there are multiple groups. Yeah, they're connected digitally.
Okay.
So all alumni are part of we use WhatsApp typically to communicate. We also have a Discord group, but they use WhatsApp largely. And so the alumni have a WhatsApp group. The mentors have a WhatsApp group where they keep posting whatever they want to share. And even our employees would keep posting job opportunities, any information that somebody passes on. Let's say you pass on and say, hey, there's a good opportunity here. We would put it up on that group for the alumni.
Nice.
You asked something first. I think I missed
that. No, that was just out of curiosity.
Okay.
Yeah. No, yeah. So you're connected to jobs, opportunities, and practice. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So I just wanted to tell you that. So Susan, who is Sugan Thomas's wife, Mrs. Sugan Thomas, she's our secretary right now, and one more person who is in our management committee. Both of them are ex-HR managers, human resource development, HRD managers. So they helped a lot in telling us, because they were doing recruitment for their companies where they were working for. So it did give us a kind of a head start to. We were a little fortunate that the group, even though we are very few of us, we are about 7 or 8 of us running the whole organization, like I said, without anything. Fortunate that we are all experienced at different parts of industry to help to become a rounded organization.
That's a question. Then your 6-7 is the core team, you could say.
Yeah, it is the team. That's it.
The team, yeah.
That's it. That's the whole team. Yeah.
That's very interesting.
It's very interesting that you had a passionate reason. So we talked a lot about organizations with a purpose. You definitely had a purpose from the very beginning. We talk a lot about the right competences and skills. You were doing something for which you had relevant internal information on how that really could work. And what I have noticed as well is that one of the things I do as well is governance, corporate governance, and I have been, for example, auditing some foundations here in Spain to see how they make decisions, how they work, and having a good governance. It doesn't have to be very complex, but having a good one helps for decision making and transparency, especially in foundations in Spain and in Europe. We have very strong legislation for transparency, as you mentioned before, to avoid laundering, to avoid perhaps misuse of the money and things like that. And those are the things that generate trust. So not only the impact, but also the good management of the money, because that's what you need to bring in donors. So all of that was very interesting in your presentation to present
But
all of that in a
believe
very
me,
nice way.
Cassie, it didn't happen overnight.
No. I imagine.
Early years was, you can imagine, like we were still finding our way. So it came out of, what do I say, necessity. We had to get our act in shape, and we were also young at that time. So when I say we were much younger, 20 years back, we were much
But now
younger,
you're very wise.
not
Now
as
you're very
mature.
wise.
No, we were getting wise, growing along with it. The organization and us grew together. So we were getting better, learning from our mistakes every time. Let's put it that way.
I am very, very sorry, but I have a webinar now. I don't know if there's any other question from the rest, but I think that we need to start closing the session.
Okay.
It has been a real pleasure, Vergis. It has been fantastic to see this little big, the things that start small but have tremendous
It's not
impact.
so little any longer.
Exactly, it's not so little any longer. It has fantastic ripple effects, and that you do because of many of the things that you have shown us. That purpose, that willingness, that real North Star. And it has been fascinating to hear all of that. So very, very inspiring, and best of luck. And good that we have made some connections as well here as well.
Thank you. Thank you all for taking your time out for us.
Thank you very much, everyone, for joining today.
Bye.
Geraldo.